Hey guys, how's it going? This is John Lilly here. This is my 2007 Nissan Sentra SER Spec V. You've probably seen previously on my YouTube channel that I had a Saturn. That thing's long gone. I have this now, which is arguably a lot better. So let me show you around. It's a 2007 Sentra Spec V, as I said. It is a 2.5 liter QR25DE engine, making 200 horsepower at the flywheel, which is probably about 180 horsepower at the wheels, and it makes 180 pound-feet of torque at said wheels as well. This is the Spec V, comes in a 6-speed manual only, with the option of a helical limited slip differential, which fortunately the previous owner opted to have installed. So as far as mods I have done to it, I have a mesh grille made for it with the SER and Spec V emblems. I have LED headlight bulbs and LED fog lamp bulbs installed. I have Motegi track light racing wheels on, which are, I believe, 18 by 8.5 with a -45 offset, with R1 concepts drilled and slotted front and rear rotors. It has Akebono pads on, but Nissan uses Akebono pads as factory pads, so I'm not sure how much of a mod that counts as, but I'm still going to count it just because. The calipers are supposed to say SER on them as well, but the R always peels off on these calipers. And pardon me for how dirty the car is. It's been snowing the past week while I've had COVID as well, but getting better. I have window tint and rain guards installed, as well as a Stillen rear roof spoiler, which I think looks very good on this actually. I have a Borla muffler installed with all my engine blow-by there on the rear bumper. Stillen Spec V, as you can see. And my car also has an Armadic Performance racing header on it as well, which I can show you. Now, a couple neat things that the Spec V has normal Sentras, or honestly most other cars, don't have in general, is under the hood and in the trunk. Well, in here as well. And here I have a East Coast detailing wrapped steering wheel. I got this from fellow Spec V YouTuber Slow Spec V. He recently just did a video showing how to install a simplistic garage 70mm throttle body with a spacer with his engine cold air intake. So be sure to check that video out if you have interest. I will also try to put him in the link in the description below. 6-speed manual only. Ignore that my slowest gear says bye Felicia. A cool thing on this gen Spec V is, here, I'll go ahead and put this into the on position so you can see it. Those two gauges right up there, I have an oil pressure gauge, which is actually really awesome to have, and a G meter, which is a cool thing to have as well. Aftermarket head unit. This screen used to work. They do not work with aftermarket radios. They used to make an adapter for it so you could use it, but the adapter is now hard to find now. It used to show you your miles average, fuel economy, radio stations, distance till empty, stuff like that. Mine doesn't work anymore though. The Spec V's also came with aluminum pedals, which I would like to get redone. So, pop the trunk and look under the hood. One of the improvements Nissan made to the Spec V over the base model Sentra, I believe the Sentra SER also has this as well, behind the cowl, or at least so I've heard, there is a factory front mounted strut brace, anti-roll bar, whatever the hell you want to call it. The firewall was also reinforced by from Nissan by factory for load and such. This is my Harmonic Performance 3-inch header. It is a stepped header, meaning that from the block down to where it connects to the other piping, it has different diameter pipings that are stepped up in size the larger the diameter they go. So I believe this started at 1 3/4 of an inch and went up to a 3-inch, but I could be incorrect. This is a electrical grounding kit. It makes an easier path to ground for your electrical system, which helps it to work better. Everyone always asks me what the hell these red cords are. I also have a Mishimoto baffled oil catch can going from my PCV to the catch can, back to the air intake, back to the air intake. Do not connect it to the breather like everyone else and the dumbasses at 2J Racing seem to do. Another improvement Nissan made with the Spec V over the base Sentra, and maybe the SCR also, is the intake manifold was tuned and made to flow more air at a higher velocity. So I'm going to be getting the intake manifold ported from 54 millimeters, I believe it is, to 70 millimeters to match the throttle body that's slow Spec V installed. To flow more air, basically, more power. I don't really have anything else in here at the moment to show you. I will be doing the cooling mod for this, which is, these cars have two thermostats. There is one here, and there is one way down there. The mod in question is to replace this thermostat with an SR20 thermostat. This thermostat opens at 180 degrees. The SR21 opens up at 170 degrees, so you get cooler coolant temperatures and overall cooler engine temperatures. That thermostat is going to get gutted, so that way the block and the cylinder head stay at the same temperature. This vehicle here has been and will be getting autocrossed more, so temperatures are a very important thing to consider. Now, in terms of other things that have been done, the other very cool thing, in my opinion, that Nissan did to this from factory, the only other car I've seen with this so far is the new Hyundai Elantra N-Line. We have a trunk-mounted V-brace from factory. Nissan used this to help stiffen the chassis more for corners. These cars do very surprisingly well when it comes to cornering. In terms of future mods, end of this month or beginning of next month, I will be getting BC Racing coilovers. From BC Racing, I will be getting the Swift springs for them also, because those are lighter than the regular BC springs. They're really good for autocross and daily driving purposes. So you'll get to see me swap the springs over. I will also be doing new tie rods because mine are leaking a little bit, with new lower control arms. I will also be switching out one of the bushings in the lower control arm with a polyurethane bushing from the Nissan Rogue. I'm also replacing the suspension because maintenance before mods, when you lower the car, that puts more strain on the rest of the suspension. So it's just a good thing to do in general. I didn't do any of those engine mods you saw until I made sure my car wasn't leaking any more oil. I'm a very big supporter of the maintenance before mods idea. So let me start this up, give you a few revs, and you'll see me in the next video then. The earlier model year Sentras had a the earlier model year Sentras had orange lights in the dash. The later model years have white lights in the dash. I personally think the orange looks a bit better. That's all I've ever known also. My exhaust is just the Borla muffler with the harmonic header. And I also gutted the cat because I was having problems with the catalytic converter, so I wasn't doing it just to be catless. My face. So the Spec V uses a high compression QR25DE. The SER used a QR25 that made 170 horsepower at the wheels. It used a sport-tuned CVT, which I don't like CVT, so we don't talk about that car really. Not all CVTs are bad, just Nissans. The Spec V QR25 uses higher compression internals. I believe the compression ratio is like 10:7:1, something like that. If I'm incorrect, I will try to put something down here that actually shows it. And I'm sure I've messed up a lot of stuff in this video, so I'll try to correct it also. Because it is a higher compression engine, I will be putting a full 3-inch exhaust on this. A vibrant, ultra-quiet resonator with a vibrant street power muffler. Higher compression motors benefit from having a freer flowing exhaust, so hopefully that'll add some horsepower. I will be doing that in conjunction with a higher flowing intake manifold, which will be bored out to 70 millimeters with the simplistic garage 70 millimeter throttle body. That should very much help with throttle response. This engine is already very torquey and has good throttle response as it is, but every little bit counts. Other things that separate the SER and the Spec V from the regular Sentra: red seat belts, which a lot of people think is a little tacky, but I personally like it. You also get, you can't really see it in this way, but you also get the SER stitching in the front 2 seats. You also get red stitching in the seat itself, which I just think it's a very nice touch and looks good. Peak Spidey peeking back there. Spidey Spec V. But yep, that's all there is to it. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.